Okay, I should be live if everything is going as it should be. And I'll be with you in just a second here, because I just got to make sure everything's doing as it should on YouTube. Because I just got to make sure everything's doing that. All right, good deal. Let me get over to the stove. Over by the stove, over by the microphone. I need my hot pad. Always something. I had all day to get ready for this, and there's always something right at the very last minute that I forget or goes wrong. But that's how things go, I guess. Let me see here. Trying to organize that. Dogs start barking. Tonight, I'm going to be making a nice little chicken fricassee. What's a fricassee, you say? It's basically a chicken in a cream mushroom sauce. It's a fairly popular French type of dish, and it's not very difficult to make. Let me get this here stirred around. Got a fairly quick hot fire going for now, which is what I want because I have to sear my chicken, get it browned up a little bit before I get underway. Let me grab my pan. I'm going to be using a number 9 Griswold large logo. We'll get him heated up. Should be fairly warm already. It's been sitting there warming up. Somewhere to put my hot pad. I got everything piled here. I can't quite get you down far enough to see everything. Got everything piled on my little table. So that's all in the way. Yeah, we're pretty warm. I think I can start. You start off with your frying pan, and you need about 4 tablespoons of butter. In this case, I'm using clarified butter, but you want a goodly amount. Get that melted. Maybe a little more. Bumping my camera. Get that melted. Get this out of the way because I'm done with it now, I think. Slop that around. As soon as that's ready, I'm going to go ahead and put in my chicken. Now for chicken, dark meat works best. Drumsticks, thighs, I got 8 drumsticks. Preferably skin on and bone in. You can use boneless and skinless, but it tends to cook a bit fast and it'll dry out if you overcook it. You can also use breasts. Again, bone in, skin on is ideal, but you can use boneless or skinless. But you'll have to cook it a bit less to keep it from drying out, because nobody likes dried out chicken. Let's see, I don't think we're quite hot enough. Give it just another minute to warm up. Swirl it around. That sounds okay. We're not trying to cook the chicken through right now. We just want to get it browned on all sides as best we can. And I should have room enough for all of these guys. There we go. Get rid of my dirty plate. Got a clean plate waiting, because you'll need to take the chicken in and out a few times. see we got Pat Needham, Christy Vachito, hi, Pink Pearl, Shanudo, good to see you, Mike Doobie, nice to see everybody here. Didn't need to swap oil on the stove. Want to give these guys 2 or 3 minutes on a side. Like I said, we're not trying to cook them through right now. We just want to get them browned up good. Fluffy Otter, nice to see you. And once we get to the point where I have a little time to kill, I'll show you a few things that I acquired during the week. I finished up that Victor, that fully marked Victor skillet that I showed you last week. Turned out real nice. I'm really happy with how that turned out. Haven't used it yet, but I got it all ready to go. Ooh, snap. There you go. That's tearing along nice. Darla Allred, Billy Lee Lawhan, good to see you guys. Got my fricassee going. And right now we're just browning up the chicken a bit. The pan's a little bit overcrowded, so it's not going to brown quite as fast as I would hope, but we'll still get her done in plenty of time. There you go. I think one more turn will be good enough for our browning. Come on, you guys. We'll move over onto a little bit less violent part of the stove. Okay, I think we're good. Hey, smoking all over the place. But that's okay. That's good for the top of the stove. That'll help season things up nicely. Now I got my chicken seared off. You take about a pound of mushrooms. And the recipe originally called for a couple of medium onions, but I dislike onions intensely. I can tolerate shallots though. So I got a couple of shallots chopped up there. And I'll saute these up a little bit. And get them cooked down. Ooh, I'm going to open my door. Got pretty warm in here and got a haze of smoke going for me. And I can settle my fire down a bit. Now these aren't going to get really super golden brown, and they're going to be simmered in sauce pretty soon anyway, so that'll also kind of take the color out of them. So you don't need to get these golden brown, but I do want to get them cooked through. Let me try one. Come here, you. Give them just a little bit more. Maybe a little bit warmer spot on the stove. And now I'm going to add my garlic. 2 or 3 cloves worth of chopped up garlic. The mushrooms, you see, I didn't really slice them. I just kind of chunked them up. Big chunks are kind of nice in this sort of thing. Put my garlic in. I didn't add that right away because I didn't want it to get burnt. Because burnt garlic is nasty as hell. Let that garlic sweat for just a minute or so. And then we start adding our liquids. Well, not quite. There we go. You want about a 1/4 cup or so worth of flour, 3 or 4 tablespoons. You want to cook that just a little bit so you don't get quite that nasty floury taste. Could have used a little bit more oil in this, I guess, but we'll be okay. Now we can add our liquids. A 1/2 cup of white wine. Let that alcohol cook off. Let that flour brown up a little more. And about 2 1/2 cups or so worth of chicken stock. Also, I want a 1/2 teaspoon of thyme and 1 bay leaf. I got 3 little ones because all I got left are pretty small. And scrape that around a bit and make sure we get all the good cooked on bits off the bottom. And bring this back up to a boil. And get all the bits off my spatula. Little gob on the back of my spatula there will knock him off. Get that back up to simmering, get rid of some of my excess stuff here. Make a little room on my table. Grab my timer, get that set. All right, okay. Get rid of them too. Yeah, I like these little silicone Lodge hot pads. I wish they were about that much bigger though. That'd be really handy if they were. And yeah, that smells fantastic already before we even get underway with it. Now hopefully I won't overflow my pan when I put my chicken back in. It looks like I'm a bit full. Might have been a good idea to use a deeper skillet, but I think we'll be okay. And you can see my fire burnt down quite a bit because I've been running it pretty much wide open, so it'd be good and hot for searing my meat off. But now I want a little bit more of a slow, steady fire. So I'll let that get going, and then I'll damper everything down a bit more. Get this over where she's good and hot, so I can get it back to a boil, back to a simmer. And we're pretty close to that now. Is it possible to taste or smell things over the internet? Pretty close. I mean, that looks like it looks as good as it smells already. And it really smells good. That bay leaf and thyme and garlic and shallots in there really gets a lot of aroma going. Can you imagine cooking with actual firewood instead of gas? Yeah, I got a pretty good idea of what it's like. I almost got it cleared up in here from all the smoke I made with it spattering on the Cookstove. And I got everything worked up loose off of the bottom. Yeah, once it starts simmering with that thyme, you can really smell the thyme and the bay leaf in there. And oh, that smells so nice. But now that we're back to a simmer, we can put our chicken back in. I'll need another clean plate because this bled a little bit on there. Did a fairly decent job of browning the skin. The nicer and browner you get it, the better it tastes. But it's not going to be crispy because this is going to get simmered for quite a while. Now that we're back to a nice simmer, move it over a little bit onto a cooler spot. I'm going to cover this up and let it simmer covered for 10 minutes. Start my timer, and we're off. Now, get myself another clean plate. There you go, Milo. You're bugging me. I'll let you have them juices. Another nice, clean, dry plate. And that's most of it for right now. Make sure that isn't boiling too violently. We're doing good. Let her simmer and cook. And this is going to be kind of a tricky deal because I got my mic and everything all set up over here. But I wanted to come back and check my comments. That's my Michelle Galloway. That's nice to see you. Smothered chicken legs? Pretty much. It's a little bit different recipe, but not all that much different than smothered pork chops, smothered chicken legs. Same kind of principle. Yeah, if you're closer, you bring a salad, yeah. I love my wood stove. Yeah, I love cooking on that thing. I'm going to be wrapping it up for the season before too long. Once it starts getting too warm out, I don't usually cook on it. But it ain't quite that warm yet, so another month or so for sure. Treat for sure and really interested in the recipe. Yeah, I'll have to, once the video posts after the live stream, I'll put the recipe in the description, or you can follow along. It's not terribly difficult. Made some sesame peanut butter chicken for dinner tonight and it was super yummy. That does sound good. I really like sesame chicken. Peanut butter's okay. The right recipe is kind of important, otherwise it gets a bit too sweet. But anyhow, I was going to show you some of the things that I found this week. Only found a couple of items, but I got that one skillet done and ready to use. I haven't used it yet. All right, Milo, you're done with that. I don't need you pushing that around underneath the stove. Need a sip here. But hit a couple of antique shops and I found one of these. That's the base for a Nordic ware Kroomkaka iron, the smaller size. They made like a 5-inch and a 7-inch, and that's the smaller size. But that was only $4, so I grabbed it because I think I have an extra Nordic ware iron. If not, I'm sure somebody else does, and kind of a handy little thing to have. I found this number 5 skillet. It's unmarked. There's nothing on the back. But I'm about 95% sure that this is made by Wagnerware because I have a couple of other ones just like it, and I've given a couple away. Wagner used that. See if we can get a good shot of it. They used that style of 5 on a lot of things in the late 20s, early 30s. And one of them I gave away had butter marks on it that were in the exact spot where you'd expect to see a Wagnerware logo. And yeah, I'm pretty much 95% sure that's an unmarked Wagner from the 1930s. And the style of handle is right on it too. It could be somebody else made it, but like I said, I'm pretty sure that it is. Justin Smith recently picked up a wood gas stove from 1915 to 1920 made by Globe Stove and Range. Oh, that's cool. You'll really like it once you get the hang of cooking on a wood stove. There's a bit of a learning curve. I'm going to move that over just a little bit more. I don't need it cooking quite that fast. There's a bit of a learning curve, especially with the baking. But once you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun. And things cook different in them. You know, especially like making bread in a wood-fired oven. That really makes a big difference on the way the crust turns out. Fluffy Otter, sorry for the delay. Oh, I had to bring in your chickens, huh? 6 drops. A what iron? A Kroomkaka iron. They're also called wafer irons or pizzelle irons, however you pronounce that in Italian. They're all a pretty similar thing. You make up a batter and making this iron similar to a waffle iron, only it makes a real thin wafer. It's doing good. Did I close that? Yeah. And that fully marked Victor skillet I showed you last week, I got that all stripped down and refinished. Got her seasoned up. I put 3 coats of Easy Beezy on there, and that's what it turned out. Pretty neat. Once it got cleaned up, you can see right there, there's a little bit of casting flash on there. Flash is where the iron kind of seeped into the seam on the mold. A little rough spot, but that's no big deal. But I'm really happy with the way that turned out. And that's what a fully marked Victor skillet looks like. They made these in the 1930s. Before that, they were just marked Victor, and they didn't have all the Griswold manufacturing and all the rest of the stuff on there. And they're nice little skillets. Victor was an economy brand that Griswold made. It's starting, pretty much back in the 1890s, I think. Certainly in the early 1900s. And they kept it going up until roughly 1940. Victor looks great. Yeah, that turned out really beautifully. I'm really happy with the way that came out. Oh, you just wanted me to say Kroomkaka again? Let's see. Picked up a Victor today in the flea market. Yeah, and they're nice pans. I mean, they're real nice skillets, and a lot of people are there's a fair bit of demand for them because they were made by Griswold. So there's always demand for older Griswold stuff. You got an enameled Paula Deen cast iron pan, but you never cook with it, as the honeymoon with your nicely seasoned Lodge cast iron is far from over. Yeah, the Paula Deen stuff, it looks real nice, and it works good too, but a lot of it is twice as heavy as what it needs to be. I mean, some of you got really nice designs, but man, that stuff is way heavy. And enamel is real nice to have if you're, especially if you're slow cooking something acidic. If you're making like a braised beef in a wine sauce in your oven, you're going to let it cook for a couple hours. Or making sauerbraten, or going to cook something, really acidic, something sauerkraut, things like that. Enamel is nice because over time, with long cooking something really acidic, it will tend to eat away at your seasoning. Let's see here. Settle down, you. Ooh, that little bit that slopped over smells really nice when they hit the stove. We're almost ready to uncover this and then let it simmer for another 20 minutes or so, and then we'll be done. Is it true that you shouldn't make water-based soups in cast iron? It depends on how well seasoned it is. If you're just going to boil a pot of water for a long time, there's better things than cast iron. But I made beef barley soup in my old Wagner flat bottom pot. I did that as a video, I think. And you can. Good idea is to grease the entire inside. Rub it down with a little bit of cooking oil or fat of some kind, and that'll kind of help protect it a bit. And if it's really well seasoned, is good. If something that you've recently seasoned that doesn't have the seasoning really cooked in good yet, it might you might get some rust from the steam if you're cooking it covered. But otherwise, you can certainly do water-based soups in cast iron. If you do it in enamel, you got no problem at all. Okay, there's my 10 minutes up. I'm gonna uncover this, and we're gonna let that cook uncovered for another 20 minutes. Let me move my lid out of the way here. And I probably should have made that shut up first, so you didn't have to listen to that beeping at you. All right, another 20 minutes, and that'll be good to go. I'll turn that a little bit. But that's looking really nice so far. And that'll cook down some more. It'll finish cooking that chicken through. Yeah, your pan is very heavy. Your Lodge or your Paula Deen. Well, Lodge is pretty heavy nowadays too, so either one of them. A pan like this, like either one of these pans, weighs about half as much as a modern Lodge does. They got heavier because the exact formula of the iron they use has changed a bit over time, and they had to make them thicker to accommodate the automated mold making process. So, it's not so much that they're worse pans now than they used to be. It's just the production techniques have changed, and they had to get a bit thicker, which makes them heavier, of course. And in the early 80s, Lodge quit machining the insides of their pans. And when you machine them down, of course, that takes some metal back off. But it skips a step in production and is a lot cheaper and, pretty much helps save the company. So they're still in business today. But even the pebbly texture that modern Lodges have, that's seldom, if ever, a problem with seasoning or with things sticking. It's just that, a lot of people don't much care for the rougher surface. That Paula Deen, yeah, like I said, everything I've come across from the Paula Deen stuff is way, way heavier than it needs to be. It's all imported, and being imported isn't necessarily bad, but a lot of the imported stuff, they use a lower grade of iron, and a lower grade of iron, you have to make a thicker pan because it doesn't flow in the molds as good as better iron will. You have a look at my fire. It's doing all right. Give her another chunk or two. And a couple of these little short bits. In there. That should be a great plenty for now. I think I'll damper it down just a little bit in the back. But keep that simmering along, and we'll be back. Now, normally once this is done, you would serve it over mashed potatoes, just traditionally. You can use rice. What I'm going to do is make some pasta once I'm done with the stream here. I'm going to make some pasta. Use something like a rigatoni or penne, shells, macaroni, something that'll grab that gravy for you really nice. And serve it over that. But that's going to be a hell of a good supper. I had, let's see here. Get my salt and pepper in case I need it. And I'll get my meat thermometer just to make sure everything's done towards the end. Let's see, move these out. Even got the PD stamped on it. Yeah, that's definitely a Paula Deen. Fluffy Otter, you didn't like your lodge in the beginning, but enjoy cooking on it now. It aged well. Yeah, as you use them, it smooths out a bit just from wear a little bit. And some of it will fill in a little bit with seasoning. And it'll smooth up some. And like I said, a lot of people, a lot of people prefer a smoother finish on their skillet than the rougher one that you get on a new lodge. But even so, lodge is a really good place to start if you've never used cast iron before. They're easy to find. They're carried pretty much everywhere. They're inexpensive. Buy one, try it out. Because, again, there's a bit of a learning curve to cook on cast iron compared to cooking on aluminum or stainless steel. But once you get used to it, some people just don't like cooking on cast iron. They never get the hang of it. They don't like the way it works. So if you buy yourself a new lodge skillet, you're not going to be out a whole lot of money. And like I said, they're everywhere, easy to find. And if you do like it, well, you can stick with a lodge. A lot of people stick with it forever. They like the way it works. Or if you want to try something different, you can find some vintage cast iron that has a nice smooth finish on it. And see if you like that. But, I recommend lodge for people who are beginners with cast iron, just for that reason, because cheap, they're easy to find, and they work good. Don't rinse my pasta. It helps bond to the sauce. Yeah, I never rinse pasta. Don't rinse rice either, unless I really have to for a specific recipe. Cooked on your lodge for 5 years. It's still pebbly, but it doesn't stick. Yeah, it'll take a long time, a lot of wear and tear to really get it smooth if you're looking for something smooth. But, yeah, it won't stick even with a pebbly surface. Even some really cheap, nasty cast iron that has a real rough, sandpapery surface, if you work on it, you can get it to where it'll season up good and it won't stick even with that really rough surface. But a lot of times you can't. And it's the same with if you have a vintage pan that you're restoring that's got bad pitting to it. The pitting seldom causes a problem. And it seems what usually does, instead of the big rough pits, it's the real fine pitting that seems to cause the most problem, if it's going to be a problem at all. Yeah, never rinse your pasta. Yeah, I mean, I never have. So that's nothing new. Let's see, 12 minutes left. Yeah, we're simmering right along. That chicken should be pretty much done now. I'll give one here a check just to see how it's doing. Yeah, it's about 145. By the time it's done, it should be up to 160, 65, and that's what you want to cook chicken to. You can get away with a little less on white meat, and that'll help keep it moist too. But you don't want to be less than 150 ever with chicken. And like I said, dark meat especially, you want it all the way up to about 165 internal temperature. Your all-time favorite to cook on is your Wagner chef skillet. Great for omelets. Yeah, I don't have any chef skillets. I mean, I've been looking for one. I've seen some sell for more than I'd be willing to pay for them. But, I don't do a lot of the real flipping around, which is what chef skillets were made for. They're, instead of having a sharp edge in the bottom, like most skillets do, it's got a rounded, a slope surface to it. So you can shake shit on the stove and flip it, do the fancy chef flip with it. But something like that, yeah, they work really nice for omelets because you can push them around real easy. Really like your number 8 3-notch lodge. Yeah, the 3-notch lodges, was still back in the day when they machined the inside and they have nice smooth finish to the inside. Love the Wagner chef skillet as well. Great pan. Yeah, like I said, I'll have one eventually. Just takes a little time and patience sometimes to get what you want. Let's see. That. But once the time is up on this, there's one more ingredient to add, and then we'll be done with it. And I got to get myself a spoon. Give that. Oops. Give it a taste and see how we're coming. How rare are the 3-notch lodges? Not very. I mean, they're a pretty common pan. They started with the 3 notches in the late 1930s, early 1940s, and they made them like that up into the 70s. But some of the 3-notch lodge ones, they put the Lodge logo on it. It was a straight line that said Lodge that had that frying pan with a skillet for an hole, like they use nowadays. And they started that in the mid-30s, but they still had 3 notches in the heat ring. And they're usually pretty inexpensive. You can pick up a number 8 for anywhere from $20 to $40, depending on where you find it. But a generic price on them, I'd say you can usually get them for $30, $35. Love that I use shallots instead of regular onions. Yeah, I don't like onions, but like I said, shallots are okay. Green onions I can tolerate too, but just your regular, regular plain old yellow onions, white onions, red onions, I just don't care for them. About the only things I'll use onions in is pickling things. I'll use onions, making pickles or pickled fish or whatever. And green onions, I like the ham roll-ups, with cream cheese on ham, then you roll up a green onion in it. Those are really good. But other than that, I don't use onions for pretty much anything. On your chef skillet, Goodwill maybe 15 years ago, paid $7 for it. Sparked your interest in cast iron. Yeah, I mean there's still a lot of good stuff in Goodwills. A lot of the secondhand shops are charging a lot more than they used to, especially if it has a brand name on it. Then they tend to want 20, $30 for things that they used to sell for 5 or 10 a few years ago. But prices on everything go up, and there's a lot more demand for cast iron. You bite into an onion raw, you love them. No, I hate them. I don't like green peppers either. Bell peppers. I used to love them when I was a kid. I mean, I'd eat them like an apple right out of the garden. But anymore, I just do not like green peppers anymore. Kind of funny how your taste changes over the years. Usually you start liking more things as you get older, but that wasn't the case with green peppers and me. I meant how rare are the single notch lodges. They're a good bit more uncommon, but I still see them around. I got a few, and yeah, they go for a little bit more. But the good thing with Lodge and BSR, since they didn't have an actual brand name on them, a lot of times you can get them a lot cheaper in secondhand stores than you would for the same thing in a Wagner or Griswold or Favorite or something like that that has an actual name on it. A lot of people still don't recognize for what they are. You can still find, 3 notch or 1 notch lodges around, but they're not as common as the 3 notch ones, but they're not really rare either. More of a garlic and chives kind of person over onions. Yeah, I love garlic. I mean, garlic is great. I use that in quite a bit of things, but I just don't, just do not like onions. Let's see here. Right, move that a little bit. Actually, I want to go all the way around with them. And that's one of the things. I mean, you see me turning my pan around and moving it quite a bit. That's one of the things with a wood cook stove. It's hottest right by the fire, and as you get over here, it's cooler. Something that's right up against the edge here. I mean, you can almost touch that piece on the very edge, right where the reservoir there hooks on. We're over here. I mean, holding your hand above it for more than a few seconds is more than you can take. So there's warmer and hotter spots on the top of the stove, and you gotta kind of know where it is and figure it out as you go. Patrice, you like all of it, and now you're hungry. Onions don't like you either. Yeah, it's not. I can't think of any foods that I can't tolerate really, but yeah, I just do not like the taste of onions. Never have. Another 4 minutes or so of cooking down here, and that'll be ready for the last step. And this will be finished just about the time when our hour is up. I don't necessarily have to stick to an hour long show, but it seems to work best. Try and make it a reasonably consistent time. If I run a little bit long, it's no big deal. I like to think that I can come up with at least an hour's worth of chat and material to fill up an hour's worth of show. Moved on to grill onion. Raw onion you're unable to tolerate. Yeah, I don't like grilled onions either. Your onions on hamburgers or onions in just about anything. Love a good onion ring, but you'll pay dearly for it later. Well, I suppose. There's an onion ring company up in Rice Lake, and years ago, back when I was building water and sewer, we had a big storm sewer job right next to that onion ring factory. And all day long, all I could smell is greasy onion rings. one of the worst jobs I ever had because I do not like onions, much less greasy smelling onion rings. Outback bloomin' onion. Well, if you insist, but no thank you. So another little drink here of coffee. I should move that gem pan I got sitting in the way over there, because once I'm done with this, I'm going to want to shove it over on the side just to keep it warm while I make my pasta. Make my way through all my cords. Hopefully not unplug something important. Get this guy out of the way. Grilled onion is sublime. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's all send Bud an onion. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have mentioned I hate onions. This being the internet, everybody will start mailing me one. Your ma used to make stuffed peppers back in the day. Green peppers with the ragu rice. I like them all separately, but that combo, not so much. Yeah, I don't know why I lost my taste for green peppers. I used to love them, but that's just how it goes sometimes, I guess. Yeah, I'll probably find myself buried in onions over the next couple of weeks. But I'm down to the last minute on my timer. So I think what you do now is take your chicken back out once again. I'm going to move around the other side so I'm not reaching over the hot part of my stove. And again, fight my way through the wires and cables. This is not a wireless operation. And of course, I put myself on the wrong side of all my tools. But anyway, bump anything out of screen. Okay. Fish out your chicken again. Stir everything around a little bit. Shut that off. What we're going to do now is add, remember I said this is a French recipe, we're going to add 2/3 of a cup of heavy cream. Stir that in. Get that all stirred in. And I'm going to move my mic a little bit here. See if we got enough salt and pepper in there. I think it needs a little bit more salt. Maybe a tiny little bit, but not much. A little bit of salt, a little bit more pepper. Stir that in. One more taste. Oh yeah, that's just perfect. That cream really makes a big difference. Once you put that in, it thickens it up a little bit more and really adds to the flavor. Put the chicken back in, bring this back up to a boil, and it's done. Pour the juices back in, and I come back around to where my, back to the other side of everything. Dodge through the wires. And while I don't like green peppers, I love cayenne. Whether it's a cayenne sauce or using cayenne peppers in your cooking. Just bring this back up to a boil, which it pretty much is. Oops. And we'll be done. Lost 15 pounds and now you're gaining it back watching this. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, that little bit of heavy cream really makes a big difference. Really kicks up the flavor a lot. Especially the cream really goes well with the thyme. At least I think so anyway. And it thickens the sauce a little bit. And now that we're back to a boil, I'll shove this over out of the way, keep it nice and warm, and that's it. That's your basic chicken fricassee. You can use other kinds of meat. Rabbit fricassee is a real well-known one, but you can also put some vegetables in there. Something that you can cook for a while, like carrots, would be good. If you wanted to add something like peas, add them in the last few minutes. Just enough to heat them up. You don't want to overcook them and turn them to mush. But that's a chicken fricassee. I'll put the recipe in the description once it loads up to YouTube after we're done with this. And once I'm off camera, I'll make myself some pasta, put that on there. And here we are. That worked out to just about exactly an hour, which is kind of nice. So if you like the video, hit the like button on the way out. Angie and Mike are coming over. Well, if you get here before it's all gone, I'll let you have some. Hit the like button, subscribe. Be sure you hit the notification bell because YouTube is terrible about notifying you of things. Click on the bell and hit all, and then it'll let you know when I'm live or when I got a video posted. If you feel like, go ahead, join the channel. You get membership in a super duper top secret Facebook page, and you get early access to my videos when I make regular videos. So anyhow, I'm going to wrap this up. Let me get over to my computer so I can shut it off. And I'll see you guys next week. I'm going to make me some pasta and have supper. Nice little chicken fricassee. Get over here. And I'll see you guys next week.